and build in points of learning and adjustment within that so you can stop, learn, adjust if you need to. It's a terrific concept. Your first idea is probably wrong. So if you can learn from that and move, that's a good thing, right? And then what you need to do is you've got to publish these metrics openly. You've got to tell everybody in the organization about it. You can't be afraid to put that out there and say, well, what if I'm wrong and this thing blows up? Great. You just learned something that you can share with the rest of the organization that you can go back now and take a different approach. All right? So create simple metrics. Answer these 4 questions. Again, if you're spotting opportunities from a jobs to be done point of view, you can answer these 4. You're building a foundation that's better. And it works. It really works.
It works. It works. All I have to do is take one little step at a time, and I can do anything.
See? I mean, there's the best change agent in the world. If it works for him, it'll work for you. Trust me. But, you know, the next thing, and what really differentiates successful change initiatives from kind of fly-by-night change initiatives, you have to create a sustainable approach, okay? Whether it's social or digital or just new platforms and new approaches, these are not campaigns, guys. If you're thinking in a campaign mentality, your impact is going to be as fast as a campaign. It's not going to be sustainable. And if you want to drive true change within an organization, you have to look for ways to create a platform that's sustainable, that you can be committed to realize the full benefit of the opportunities that you're going to find from some of these new approaches that you're going to take. I'll give you an example of a couple of things we've done at our company, and we're learning as we go. All right? So again, I'm in one of those points of learning and adjustment as we speak, but I figured I'd share with you some things that we're trying that you could consider and give me your feedback. Maybe you've tried some similar things as well. But one of the first things we did, and many of you in companies probably have some exercise around strategic planning that you complete sometime in the first quarter. It's a long-range planning process. And in the past for us, this is very much an initiative of, you know, a 50-page Word document, a 100-page slide deck with another 100 pages of backups, long, drawn-out planning around investment that a lot of the brand teams did. So we changed the focus, and I think one of the things that you want to look for in a change initiative, if there's an existing process that's already in place within your company, just look to tweak it. A lot of times we try to rebuild from scratch, and it takes a year to get the change effort off the ground, and by then you've lost the opportunity. So try to find something that's there that you can just tweak, and that's what we did here with our planning process. And we said, okay, no more same approach for long-term strategic planning. We're going to innovation planning this year. And what the teams were charged with, all of the commercial teams, were to focus in using the jobs to be done model on identifying those key sustaining and disruptive innovation approaches that would either drive revenue growth or contribution margin, depending upon the product, the life cycle, the situation. That was the exclusive focus of the plan. And we present, in the US, we have a senior management group called the US Executive Committee. And each year they review the strategic plans and the budgets and kind of give the final approval for the teams to move ahead. So this year what we did is we said, okay, team, 10 slides max. Come in and talk to us about your sustaining and disruptive innovation and share with us your thinking as to why you got here. And the other thing we did, which was really innovative, is we made the executives be quiet. So it wasn't, you know, second slide in and the first one's the title, hammer with the questions. It was, let the person share the team's perspective, the learnings, the rationale, and then let's talk about it as a group. You wouldn't believe the impact this had, both on the EC, which I have an opportunity to participate in, and the brand teams, because they felt like they did all this work and people actually listened. And they got feedback that was relevant and useful that they could take back and apply to the planning process. So look for an approach that you can tweak, and this is one example. Now, the other thing you have to do, though, coming into this, you got to be crystal clear on expectations, right? Again, one of those things you have to get right up front. So a little bit of planning really pays off. And the first expectation you want to set, regardless of where you are in the company, senior management, stakeholder, participant, doesn't matter what your title is or what your job is, you've got to establish this fear that the only thing I should really be afraid of from a failure perspective is not trying something new, okay? And within pharma, that's a real opportunity we have. We have some people that have been very successful in roles over time, but I would argue that those approaches, while drove success in the past, will not drive success today, not tomorrow, today, and certainly in the future. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people come to see me and try to get career advice and counseling and talk about things, and they share with me all their great accomplishments, which are terrific. You need to respect people's experience, absolutely 100%, but don't rely on that experience to drive success for today or for tomorrow. And this is a big difference for people to think about, particularly if you're like me within a large pharma organization. You have to rely on taking risks to learn that new path forward. Go those places that make you completely uncomfortable, and that's a sign you're moving in the right direction. You have to encourage that across the organization, all right? The other thing we've been talking about a lot here is value contribution, not control. It's not what your title is or what your box is on the top of the chart or where you sit or how many staff you have or how many dollars you have, which we have all valued in our organization in the past. It's what you contribute. And guess what? Contributions can come from anywhere within the organization. And you've got to find those individuals that demonstrate that and can drive that contribution and then recognize and reward that model behavior on a very consistent basis. So again, these are some core expectations in a simple framework that you can almost go through as a checklist to say, how am I communicating and what kind of expectations am I setting for my team? So again, some examples of how we've done this in terms of a sustainable platform at Sanofi. This is a slide from IBM. It's a CEO survey that they did a couple years back, which basically said, successful CEOs within your organization, where did you find your best ideas? And guess what they said? Our number one source of innovation is our employees. Interestingly enough, after that were customers and business partners. Now there's a novel concept. So if you kind of go with this assumption that the best ideas don't come from the boardroom, the best ideas are out there within my organization and with my customers. But the problem is, we found at Sanofi, we communicated internally very much like we communicated externally, which was a one-way push. And you've got to provide that two-way street. I was very interested to hear some of the points that were raised from the presentation just before lunch about some of the enterprise opportunities that they're bringing forward at Serono. But how do you create that two-way street, again, in a way that's meaningful and sustainable, and what kind of impact can that have? So something we tried. We did an impact jam. We did this in January, and this was our first objective, and the objective here was really to demonstrate to people that we were willing to listen and to hear from them. An impact jam is basically a 72-hour chat session. It's a completely open format. Every person within U.S. pharmaceutical operations, our vaccines division, and our R&D organization, which was a first for us, the three entities never talked to each other before, participated in this jam session. We had 5 key topics. You can see them here, things that we wanted to get people's ideas about and understand what their perspectives were, and we let it go. We had a couple people to try to get some dialogue started, but we opened it up. We encouraged people to participate. We told our salespeople, hey, it's okay to be on this thing during the day. You're not going to get fired. We told people to spend time, to share, participate in the conversation. The results were amazing. We beat every benchmark in terms of the volume of posts, the level of participation. We had coordinators talking to business unit heads. We had scientists talking to marketers. It was frightening.